The early stuff you listen to as a kid doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to kind of listen to later on in life, you know, but the first record single that my parents bought for me was Nick Kershaw, you know, I think it was Wouldn't It Be Good? So it was a million miles away from what you end up with, but I think all that stuff goes in somehow, you know, when you start writing stuff. It all comes from that kind of background. Bryan Adams was another one, you know, huge, still am a huge fan, you know. It was great music, great vocals, and you didn't know it at the time, but you're soaking all that stuff in, I think. And when it comes to writing your own stuff, I mean, between us, there's a couple of references to a couple of Bryan Adams things on the last Priest record. You'd never find them, and they're not as in your face as, you know, it's not a rip-off, but there are definitely those sort of influences there from Bryan Adams and synth pop and, you know, like Flock of Seagulls and Duran Duran and all that stuff. I was big into that when I was a kid. My father was into electric guitar and he had a few friends that he grew up with in school, and one of his friends gave him a guitar. It was like a Melody Maker type, junior type thing, double cutaway type thing, and he painted it with like fluorescent red and yellows and greens. It was wicked, you know. As a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid, it was like this magical instrument thing, you know. There's been those moments throughout time, you know, where you think, you kind of get over a war, you conquer this part, or you feel like you've got it. And it was definitely, I think it was, I was in my bedroom, I was playing, I think it was an Iron Maiden track, and I felt, as you said, like it was, I've got it. I've cracked a code. And then there was other moments, you know, I was in a bar in London, and we were playing covers, you know, again, Black Sabbath, UFO, Priest, Maiden, the lot. I looked up and everyone was around and they were looking, and I felt like I've got something here, you know what I mean? So, and it still happens today, you know, in like song creation with Priest, you know, you're writing a song and people start singing them back to you, something that you've had a hand in creating. That's a thrill, man, you know. So the first show that I really have a memory of, we played a warm-up show in Holland, and I say a warm-up show, it was maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people. The next show was at Sweden Rock in Sweden, and it was maybe 30,000 people. And it was raining, and we had this big ego ramp right out into the crowd. Rob comes out on the Harley, and there was blue smoke everywhere. It was loud, you know, and he drives it down the ego ramp in the rain, and we're all thinking it's wet, right? So he's going down this ego ramp on the Harley, big old Harley. Is he going to stop? And he stopped at the end of this ego ramp, and there's Halford at the end of this ego ramp on a bike that's spitting fire and lights, and the rain's coming down. There's 30,000 people in front of him with the lights on him, and he's got his horns in the air. And dude, I'm getting chills now. It was magical. And I'm thinking, what the is going on here? You know what I mean? That's when I really realised this is real and this is happening. Just that image of the guy with those fans, and it's like, I've still got them, I don't even see it, but like it was ridiculous. As we got off the ground, it was just learn the set. You know, learn the set we're going to do. And as I said, I mean, I knew, you know, Breaking the Law, Hellbent for Leather, those sort of classics anyway. It's actually a funny story. I went to Glenn's to work out some of these parts, and we were going over Victim of Changes, you know, the way it starts, it's like a dual harmony part, and he was playing it wrong. So I thought, what do I do? Do I say something? Do I not? And I said something. And I said, I think that's wrong, and he agreed. And he laughs about it now, you know, we've told the story before, but it was one of those moments where you don't know if it's a test or not, you know. And then we went through and worked out the harmonies and who plays what. It was very important for him to include me in those songs. And again, I mean, what a guy. If someone pulled up in the cart and horses with a Flying V, you were like, okay, it's on, you know what I mean? And they were either good or not, but they were making a statement wherever they were coming from. But it's unique, and I think it's a sign of innovation. And every player that I've mentioned, really, that I was a fan of, you know, Schenker, Hendrix, James Hetfield, you know, like, they all had Vs. And I think, I mean, talk about unique and innovation. I mean, every one of them was unique and innovative. One of the challenges I've always had as a player is finding that own unique voice that they all had, you know. It's like an old friend, you know. It's one of those things that you just pick up for me personally, and it sits between your legs. The neck's great. The pickups are killer. It's beautiful. It's you know, it's got a modern design on this one, but it's obviously harkens to the past. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. You know, as I said before, it's a statement. It's unique, but it's also it's a classic. You know what I mean? And that's that's the best of every world, in my opinion. You know, and to me, it just fits like a glove. It's a neck that I'm comfortable with. You know, it's not too thin, not too thick, it's somewhere in the middle. Plays great, frets are beautiful. So yeah, the pickups are killer, they're screaming. I think they're burst buckets, there's a 2 in the neck and a 3 in the bridge. And again, I mean, all the tone you could want or need. It's just like an old friend, you know, that I've known for years. And yeah, beautiful.